The Andrew Lake Podcast.
Now in collaboration with Acid Quote Tees.
Feel the rhythm and turn all connected.
Oh, baby, can you believe it? This is happening again. I just cannot stop. This will not stop. Cannot stop. Just bursting with so much good stuff going on, baby. Yes, this is it again. We are at it again. Welcome back to the Andrew Lake Podcast. Hoping you're having a beautiful morning, enjoying your times from around the world. USA. Oh, okay, that's pretty bad. That's not very good. Scrap that. Delete, run away, delete. I know that I don't want to make a habit of starting each episode with fixing the mistakes that I made last episode, but I did actually not even tell the most offensive joke in the last episode that I know. Because last episode we were talking about jokes, right? We were telling some funny stories. But this time, we've got a new acid quote. We don't fight together. We surrender together. Some people keep asking me, like, what is the music for the podcast? Like when people say they've listened to the podcast, they go, what is that music? What is that song? That's such a good song. And I go, yeah, it's an amazing song. I love that song. It's by this guy called P Major, who's also known as Peter Farah. And he is an amazing musician from Sydney, Australia. And he does his own mixes, his own sort of beats, his own sort of styles. And he's got a number of albums on Bandcamp. I will link to it because you should definitely check it out. Definitely purchase his music. Support with money his money-making scheme, because it is a amazing thing to support the small-time artist. And he's not only just an amazing beats maker, but he's actually an amazing all-round musician, which is that he's a beast on the saxophone. Like, he makes the most incredible saxophone solos in modern jazz and contemporary improvised music. And then also he plays in the Splinter Orchestra. I was sort of in that orchestra for a little while, along with Laura Altman and Jim Denley and who else? Hopkins and a whole bunch of people. Like, there's a lot of people in it. Shout out to the Splinter Orchestra. I mean, I was sort of in it, but I was sort of not in it, because I used to go along to it and be the videographer. So I would do like sound editing and video editing, and I would make these mini documentaries on the sounds that they were making. And I call it sounds because it sounds, not so much as music, right? The Splinter Orchestra is sound art. It's something fringy. It's something weird. So very big thank you to Peter Farah for this amazing song. And in fact, a lot of his music is just so good. Just amazing stuff. So definitely check it out. And then also, there's this thing on listening to podcasts and recording episodes. I do make mistakes, right? I do forget to tell jokes, and I forget to say the right words sometimes. Like, my words in order different sometimes. For example, we were talking about the Jimi Hendrix documentary, and I called it Rainbow Hill, but I think it's actually called Rainbow Bridge. But Rainbow Hill is the rehab institute or something. And maybe it's Rainbow Bridge, I actually don't know. And then I also got mixed up because Rainbow Lake is the place that the Splinter Orchestra went to, and I did a documentary there. So Rainbow Lake, Rainbow Bridge, and Rainbow Hill are three different things, but they're all related in that we just spoke about them for the last 15 seconds. So we don't fight together, we surrender together. This is the quote of the day, to get to the point. The theme of this episode, this conversation. There's a big building. Huge building. Lots of people live in it. High density population. And every night you can hear couples fighting. They nag and they nag, and the man nags and the woman nags, and they fight and they fight. And anyone who's in a relationship, whether they're married or boyfriend or girlfriend, they fight, they argue. Except for this one couple that's up on the top floor. And there's still a lot of noise coming from them, lots of banging, lots of shouting, but instead of fighting, they're actually laughing. And one day, someone goes up to them, and they knock on the door, and he goes, what's the secret to you guys? You don't even fight each other. You are always laughing and having a good time. What is your relationship secret? And the guy who's answering the door, he says, okay, I can tell you, but make sure you don't tell anyone else in the building. What's happening is that I'm actually laughing when she throws things at me and she misses. I'm actually laughing at her. So I always think of this story when I think of this phrase, we don't fight together, we surrender together. And I mean, jokes aside, funny, weird stories aside, couples do fight. Like, couples do get irritated with each other. Couples do have things that nag and conflict and twitch, and there's a friction there, right? That's only natural when you're in close proximity to someone. And really, it doesn't always have to be like that. And I mean, a lot of the time, it's a passivity, right? The couples that don't fight are the ones that are passive, the ones that don't really have their skin in the game, that they don't really stand up for themselves, and they don't really want to actually say what it is they want. And of course, it's better to fight than to be passive, right? To be passive and to not really say what you want, not demand what you want, not to really, want the best from your partner. That's what it is at the foundation. Then, well, that passivity is at least best counteracted with being passionate. At least with fighting, there's passion, right? But there's another way around this. Relationships don't have to be like this. It is absolutely possible to be conscious in the way that you are relating to your partner, to be able to speak about what you want without being difficult, without nagging, without being confrontational. It's possible to confront the issues, to talk about the problems, to say, hey, this is difficult. Hey, this is unsatisfactory. Hey, this is not what I wanted. And yet to be able to do that with grace, with understanding, with clarity, with grounding. And it is possible to change, right? If you are in a relationship, you are changing. If it's a heightened awareness relationship, you are changing. Actually, that reminds me about this thing of trans awareness. Because we talk about awareness so much. This word awareness, I think, means something very different to me than to other people, to what it normally means. But to just sort of finish off this point of relationships, if you enter into it with awareness, with sincerity, with your strength of what it is that you are as a person and what you want out of it, then you can grow from it and you can live without fighting. And really, we call that surrender. The ultimate love is surrender. And when you are evolving with your partner, you surrender together. You notice that the problem is bigger than the both of you. The issue, the thing that you're tackling, the thing that you're confronting, the thing that you're working with is actually something that you're both on the same side of. Which is, how are you going to come into a bigger awareness? How are you going to overcome the things that are holding you back, the things that are stopping you? And when you're in it together, you know that you surrender together. So that's a little bit about this phrase, we don't fight together, we surrender together. It would be a great t-shirt to buy your girlfriend on Valentine's Day or on her birthday or on Christmas, or your boyfriend if you're a girl listening, or your partner if you're gay, which sort of reminds me again of this, brings me back to this thing of trans awareness. So at the moment, because I don't have a place to work or to sort of live, I've been recording these episodes in my car and then editing them in the public library. And in the public library, there are these posters hanging up along one side of the wall that says Trans Awareness Week. And the posters have like colourful images of like a brain, of like community, of the world. You know, they're sort of generic pictures. And when I saw them, I thought, wow, trans awareness. And I was thinking like transcendental meditation or like transpersonal psychology, and awareness as in consciousness, perception, phenomenological experiencing, immediate self-sense of presence, you know, these sorts of things. And I thought, wow, what is trans awareness? That's like having awareness that moves into another kind of awareness, or awareness that can have multiple modes of being, right? You can have expansive awareness, you can have present awareness, you can have visionary awareness, dreamscape experiencing awareness. Wow, this is amazing. How do these people know about this? And of course, I realized later on, I sort of figured out that trans awareness is not trans awareness as in transpersonal psychology meeting phenomenological experiencing, which is what I thought, but it's actually awareness of people who are transsexual, like people who are transitioning. And I thought, oh, okay, so awareness just means you know about it. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I know people do that. I know that that happens. So, I mean, I guess Trans Awareness Week is for people that don't know about that. And they don't know that that happens. I mean, sooner or later, you're going to meet someone where you go, are you a boy or a girl? And they're neither, right? That's just coming into life. That's just meeting more people. I mean, it usually happens when you're a kid at some point. And it's like, oh, that person used to be a boy and now they're a girl, or that used to be a girl, now they're a boy. And I mean, here's the thing, like trans awareness or transgender, we are all transitioning, each of us in multiple levels across life and across our consciousness. You transform, you transition into something new as you evolve as a person. You transmute your identity into a new person. And you even transition is not really the right word. Transform is a better word, right? I like this word transform much better than transition. Transition just means that you've sort of just done the same thing but with a different outfit on. It's like changing costumes. Nothing on the inside has changed. And really, as a sex change, transgender, like transitioning in your gender, that is actually meant to be an interior change. That's what's more important. You change as a person that becomes you come with a new perspective and a new paradigm and a new way of seeing the world. And secondary to that is your change in gender. And it should be, I mean, it can be, and many times it's a beautiful thing, right? You start being able to express yourself authentically, which then leads to relating to people more authentically, which leads to more meaningful connections, one conversation at a time, one interaction at a time. And that then in part unfolds back onto your understanding of how people are, how you can operate within the world. It's a beautiful thing. And I mean, I don't know too many, I can only count 3 people that I know that are transgender, and only one I would call a friend. I'm not going to name names because I don't know if they would, I'm not going to give a shout out with names on this one just because I don't know if they would want me to be naming names on this particular issue. But yeah, And I mean, then there's also this book, The Two Shores of Love, which talks about the inner man and the inner woman. And in fact, when I was in India, I was doing a course on inner man, inner woman, and exploring how both sides are within me, both the masculine and the feminine, and really integrating both is what's important. And the biological gender, well, it's only a base thing, right? It's only one level. We really do need to explore and discover and understand the full spectrum of human consciousness. And that means celebrating and embodying the gender that is right for you, and then also going beyond it. You really do have to go beyond it. And of course, some people do get upset over such issues, just as some people get upset over crude jokes. I was going to tell you that joke. What was it? Let me see if I can get this right. Okay, so if there are kids around, I'm not making any claims to this podcast being family friendly, so I think we should be safe. If there are any kids around, they must leave the room right now. So, one night, Mr. and Mrs. Tomlington, who are the parents of little Albert, are going at it in the bedroom. They're making love, doing the dirty. And all of a sudden, the bedroom door, boom, swings open with a bang. And little Albert is there wearing nothing but his cowboy hat, his little cowboy boots, and swinging 2 plastic toy guns in the air. And he shoots them off and goes, bang, bang. And his father goes, not now, little Albert. Mummy and Daddy are busy. And little Albert goes, come on, Dad, let me join in. And of course his dad is shocked. He's horrified. Oh my goodness, how could this be? But then little Albert says, come on, it'll be fun. And with a little bit of convincing, Mr. Tomlington allows his little son to climb up on top and join in with his parents' lovemaking. They push on, and it gets louder, it gets harder, it becomes more intense, and it comes to a tremendous climax. Little Albert rides his daddy on his neck and shoulders, shooting his gun, saying, "Yee-haw!" and going bang, bang. And just as it's coming to the climax, just as everything is about to explode, little Albert reaches down and whispers into his father's ear, "Hold on, Dad. This is usually where me and the postman fall off." So that's a little story about little Albert. I think there's quite a few stories about little Albert. He seems to be a regular appearance in the Osho canon. I mean, I heard that joke from Osho originally. So all credit to Osho for his, I guess, weirdness, eccentricity. And I mean, Osho didn't write his own jokes. He had his followers doing his own jokes. I mean, the problem with the Osho jokes is that there were just so many. I think someone did actually bring together all of the jokes in a book once, but it never floated because it was so big. It was like over 1,000 pages, right? So my idea, I think it would be better to have just the best of Osho jokes. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm sharing you the best of. So, yeah, this is the best of the Andrew Lake Podcast. We don't fight together, we surrender together. Head on over to Acid Quote Tees and you can order your acid quote today. Support the little guy, support the weirdness, enjoy your psychedelic consciousness. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Loving every second of it, man. I just cannot stop this stuff. This is so good. It feels amazing to be alive, even when things are just absolutely going all too... never mind about that. Don't bring that up. Have a beautiful day. See you next time.